everybody. Welcome to the Local Pundit. I'm Josh Anthony. This is a very special day. We have a very special guest on the show. Normally, I jot something down, an intro, but today I want to put this one from the heart because it kind of struck me that this gentleman's story was on Goals, Season 3, Episode 2, and I was just drawn to reach out to him and have him on the show. He's an artist. He's a photographer, local Wrexham lad, and we're really great to have him on the show. So I welcome Oliver Stephen.
Hello. I'm not used to having people introduce me yet. It's still a very, very strange experience.
Okay. Should we use a pseudonym, right? What are the pseudonyms for one of your zines?
Again, I couldn't tell you any of them. That would reveal too much.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Again, I just, I was compelled to reach out, and I'm so glad that you responded. And everyone else in the community, the local pundit community, really wanted to hear more about your story. I'm just blessed to have you on. So thank you. So yeah, I usually kick this off with an origin story about yourself. So I could leave it there to get us started. But yeah, what's the origin story?
My literal origin story is I was born in Manchester, which is in the north of England, to a Scottish father and a Welsh mother. We moved to London when I was, 6 or 7. Got picked on for being a northern kid. Lived around very sort of posh, middle-class people. And then after living there for the majority of my life, moved to Wales in 2005 after my 9 passed away, in order to look after my tide, who had was in a nursing home with Parkinson's. Got a design job up the road from where we were. Eventually got made redundant. Didn't want to get a proper job, so I went to university. Did a degree in fine art, then a master's. Then worked in the university as learning support assistant, which meant I did one-to-one support with students who have learning differences. And then now work in the library at the uni. And at some point along the way, I started taking photos of the floodlights of the club, and I've ended up becoming a fan and obsessed and, on Disney. And now I'm on a YouTube channel. So that's the brief origin story.
Brief origin story. No, it's great. I was compelled. I just rewatched your episode there too, and like I said, it's just really it kind of just struck me, just your story and some of the things you've been through. Growing up in Manchester, you said, and then moving to Wales, Manchester's a big city. Then moving down to London. That transition as a young kid must have been tough.
Yeah, because at that age, you're just sort of making the friends you think you're going to have for life. Mm-hmm. And then you're suddenly transported down to a completely different city, completely different accents, people you've never met, areas you don't know. So yeah, I felt, out of touch with everything around me. I was lucky that I met some nice people when I started there, but I still got picked on. At that point, I supported Manchester United because you grow up in Manchester, you have to pick United or City. Yep. I lived closer to United and they were red, so I was like, I support United. And then I got picked on so much that I stopped following football, stopped supporting the team, and sort of shunned it for a lot of my life because I couldn't bear the shit I got for it. Yeah. So I didn't really get back into football again until Wrexham. It's sort of been there in the background my whole life. Of like, you like it, you're interested, you want to follow it, but I could never find a team to support that I felt a connection with till I came here. So yeah, so London was like, it broke me, but it built me as well.
Really? You mentioned I read a bunch of your stuff on your website, oliverstephenphotography.com, about yourself and talking about being an outsider and about your photography. But you mentioned being in Manchester. Yes, obviously, Manchester, huge club, disaster now, but huge club. But feeling like an outsider and going to London, how'd that break you in certain ways? What built you?
So the breaking, like I had to disconnect from everything. It wasn't a choice. Like you like sort of send letters back and forth between friends, but you lose touch eventually, and then you're forced to make new friends. But because everyone there was like, for the most part, quite settled. They'd grown up in the area. They'd gone to school there before. they already had like support networks, social networks, family, friends. We had nothing. I had no family in the city. It was just my mum, my dad, and my brother. So yeah, it distanced me from other people. It made me feel alone in quite a few ways. But London also teaches you to kind of survive. Like I was trying to explain to someone recently that they couldn't get their head around it. They're like, well, in Wrexham and in Wales, like people just say hi to each other and like people are nice. And I was like, yeah, I'm a tube. Like, you don't even make eye contact. You don't look at anybody. You definitely don't talk to them. And if you don't go and sit next to them, if there's a space, you leave the space between you and them.
Yeah.
Like London teaches you kind of to be, you have to survive. You have to kind of cope with the hustle and bustle of so many people in such a compressed area. So you learn a sort of degree of confidence. And Londoners have an attitude. We have, terrible attitude. We think we're better than everybody else, we're the center of the world.
Yeah.
London turns you into a giant knob, and if you're in the art world, turns you into an even bigger one.
It's just double tick, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you're going to go in,
yeah.
Go
Same with Los Angeles, by the way, too. Not me, obviously, but no, that's what ages were you? I think we're born the same year. So were you teenage going through London?
Yeah, like I said, moved there when I was like 7 or 8 or something. So it would have been my teen years.
Yeah.
Like lived there till I was 26. I think was when we moved to Wales.
Hard enough as it is, like just being a teenager and then having to up your life and move down and start over again. It's definitely not easy. And you mentioned like going to uni at 18. You went there for 2 years. You said what prompted you to want to go to uni and then leave uni so quickly? What was
I went to uni because you go to uni.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've finished your A levels. Go to uni.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to go. I wasn't really interested, and so I picked a course in a uni that was near me that sounded like something I'd be interested in, and I'm glad I went. I had some good experiences. I met some really awesome people, one of whom I'm still in touch with to this day. So if you're watching this, John, I love you. He's been with me since we started our creative journey together. So it was great being there. I had some really great times, but I just wasn't interested in studying. I wasn't interested in writing or, doing essays and coursework and stuff. So I dropped out because my heart just wasn't in it. And then I went and got a job at, where did I get a job at? I think it might have been at Sega as a games tester for a short period of time, and that was interesting.
You chose those words carefully. Interesting.
Yeah, I can't say some of the stuff that I saw there for fear of any repercussions 20 years down the line, but it wasn't a nice place to work.
Oh man, yeah. Some places, corporations never know once you get behind the doors. You'd mentioned that you worked in marketing, and that was soul killing too. Is that during the time after you left uni and getting to
So I worked sort of for a variety of different, just a variety of different companies, but working in their marketing and advertising departments as a graphic designer, because my dad was a graphic designer. So, you do what your dad does. So I just followed in his footsteps, even though I didn't really enjoy it or like it. And then I ended up working at a place, again, I don't want to name any places, but people who know me will know where I worked, that was basically encouraging us to use our skills as designers and in marketing to persuade the poor and the elderly to part with money that they didn't have in order to buy products and services that they definitely didn't need by selling them false hope. And that broke me as a person, having to do that. And then there was a point in a meeting once, because it was they call it multi-level marketing. And I did the thing that you see in sitcoms where someone says, oh, you're doing multi-level marketing. Well, it's a pyramid scheme. And then you draw the diagram of there's the one person, and then there's the two, and then the two like that. And then you draw a triangle around it, and you go, well, that's a fucking pyramid, isn't it? And I got told off for saying that. And then weirdly, I got made redundant a few weeks later.
Odd how that happened, right?
So, yeah, just working for that, doing that was, I'm sure they've got a different opinion of what they were doing. But to me, I just felt like I'm encouraging people to spend money they don't have.
Yeah.
And I just felt I couldn't do that anymore. And thankfully, my little outburst in a meeting, I think, got me made redundant, which ended me up in uni, which ended me up here. So, sometimes soul destroying jobs are good because it gives you a chance to actually see what's valuable in the world to you. And just taking money off people for the sake of taking money, that's not of interest to me.
No, and then when you step back, and sometimes you do need to take a step back, a couple steps back to move forward, even if you don't realize it at the time. It sounds like that was one of those moments. And I was reading a little bit more. In 2008, you moved to Wrexham. You out of the press, an alcoholic. Art school literally saved your life, and this is what on the show. I said, it's your life, and we see it as compelling, but it's still your life. And I wanted to just hear more about that. And it really did strike me, and it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I was compelled to get out. So I'd love to hear more if you're willing to share with everybody.
Art school is it's a really special place. They're weird. Like the weirdest of the weird end up in. Our joke was always like, you don't end up in art school if you're normal. Okay. Normal kids go to uni and do business degrees or accounting or computer science or medicine or something. Like if you're proper weird, you end up in art school because you feel compelled to be there. It's like a calling. But it was the first environment I'd ever been in where most people just felt comfortable being themselves. They were able to be themselves. And part of my course specifically, so fine art, is very much about, or at least our fine art degree, not every fine art degree in the world is the same, is about sort of unpacking definitions and what things mean. So one of the questions our tutor used to ask us was like, how do you make your work better? What does better even mean? And when you dig into that enough, you realize that most of your standards, the way that you live your life has been handed to you by somebody else, and you've not necessarily been consciously part of that decision-making process. So it taught me to sort of unpack a lot of stuff in my head of like, well, why do I behave like this? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Just really, really simple questions asking myself, like, people say like, oh, you'll be struggling with being a man. I'm like, well, what the fuck is even a man? Like, what does that word mean? Like, so I started unpacking all these sorts of things, and just throughout the years, and then carrying on that practice after graduating, because I also worked in the art school for 9 years afterwards, just constantly looking at things in my life and assessing them and asking, what is that? What does that mean? Why am I doing this thing? So there's like an idea in sociology, which is, I'm probably going to get the guy's name, I'm going to pronounce it horribly because I'm a Londoner, and we just speak foreign languages by shouting very loudly in English. So I think his name's Pierre Bourdieu, or I don't know, I can't pronounce it. But he talks about an idea called the habitus, which is these unseen forces in society which shape the way that we think. And because we're born into that society, we think our society is inevitable. And the way that we do things is the natural 100%. Everything always turns out this way. Men always wear trousers, women always wear dresses. And that's not the case all around the world.
It's not.
And like even what we would call trousers aren't the same from one end of the country to the other end of the country, let alone abroad. So you start just sort of unpacking this stuff, and it leads you to start asking questions like, what's the quality of my life? What do I actually want to do with it? Who do I actually want to be? And when you can free yourself from those unseen forces that are telling you this is how you behave, this is what you do, like if you go to a fancy restaurant, you use this fork, particular plate, you use this spoon for that particular, like, it's a fork and a spoon, mate. Like, use them for what you want. Like,
yeah, there's no rules here. Yeah.
Who told you had to do that?
Yeah. Who made this rule up? I need to know it now. Who is this person?
That's very much what the fine art degree was about. It's about going, well, who told me I had to do that? Like, I had a painting workshop once, and I was complaining to the lecturer, John. I said to him, I fucking hate painting. I said, I came here thinking I was going to be an oil painter. I said, I can't stand it. And he goes, well, what's the problem? So I can't use the paintbrush properly. And he went, well, who told you had to use a paintbrush? And like, that's a really, really obvious thing to say, but it hadn't ever crossed my mind that, oh, you mean I could just use like pens or pieces of cardboard or, you know, material on my fingers or anything? He's like, yeah, all you have to do is apply paint to a surface to be a painter. The brush is extra.
It's almost like giving you permission and realizing the permission, but it's so simple, like it just clicks like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that moment was like the big thing for me. Where I was like, oh wait, I don't have to do what other people tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm free to make my own standards, my own decisions, and live my life the way I want to live my life. And so, yeah, my fine art degree was like, it's better than therapy.
Yeah.
You know, if essentially it was therapy, you know, I got essentially got a degree in self-therapizing because that's what we do.
Like, I know why I paid this money to go there. It's a big step going back, 18, going back 11 years later, 28, I mean, with everything going on, that's a big thing to do. I mean, if someone told me at my age right now, you had to go back to school, I would be like, oh man, do I want to work that hard?
I thought I was too old to go back. And I went into the interview just expecting, they're probably going to turn me down. And then they gave me an offer on the day, like, no, we want you in the course. And then I got to uni on the first day, got into my class, and I saw that, like, okay, I'm not actually the oldest person in the room. I think the oldest person in my year group was 50 something, 54, 55. The oldest person at the university at the time when I was studying, I think, was 72 or 73.
Wow.
And they were going for an arts degree. So, like, you have this fear in your head, I think, when you're younger. And I think being young matters to the young.
Yes.
I don't think it should matter to those of us who are older. Like, yeah, it's never too late to do something. My dad went to university at 55, 56 to get his fine art degree.
Wow.
He started the year before me, did it part-time, finished the year after me. So we were both at one point studying fine art degrees in separate universities at the same time. But he thought he was too old and then realized he's not. And now he's what, 73 or no, wait, 70? I can't remember. He's an age. He's above 70. But he started to not really care about how old he is and just does the things that he wants to do. Like, that's how you should live.
Right.
Like, fuck age. It's a number and it shouldn't hold you back from the things you want to achieve. But we place these arbitrary rules that have been handed to us. If you're not successful by the time that you're 30, if you've not made $1 billion or whatever, you're never going to be anything. And like, fuck off. Like,
and everything's cyclical too. Like, things happen when they're supposed to happen. They're not, and you fight on it. One of your quotes here I thought was pretty good. Art gave me purpose, and photography taught me not only to look at the world, but to see it and experience it. Growing up, living in Manchester, not feeling like you're quite there, in London, and then getting to uni, you never felt like you had a place. You said the outsider. Is that playing into that quote right there, what you're saying?
Yeah. Because I felt like I was on the outside, I didn't know how to engage with things. And so my camera became a coping strategy as well, in large part. So I'd turn up to art events in Wrexham with my camera because it gave me distance between, it was a thing I could hold between me and you.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me a sense of safety. But it also meant I had permission to look. Because I don't like, it's a common thing with people on the autistic spectrum, like we don't like looking people in the eye. And like often when people are talking to me, I'm looking over here talking to like the invisible man.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Like, it's just what I naturally do. I don't want to look at you.
Mm-hmm.
But having the camera makes you look.
Yeah.
You have to engage with people. You have to engage with what's happening around you. And so you start to then look at the things that maybe you're missing out on, or things you want to be a part of. So the camera's permission to look, it's permission to see, permission to experience. And since I don't necessarily understand what's going on around me most of the time, I'm quite disconnected from life. The camera gives me a way of engaging with the life around me and making a conscious effort to, no, I need to understand, why do people do this? Why do people do that? What's going on there? Yes, on a deeper level, that's what photography does for me. It gives me a chance to connect with the world and actually see it and find a way of experiencing it and processing it for myself, because I'm not, I feel like everybody else got an instruction booklet when they were born.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So basic social interactions have been somewhat of a mystery to me for most of my life. And I think anybody who's like watching this, who's on the spectrum, you know, Asperger's, ADHD, anything like that, they'll probably feel something quite similar, that everybody else got an instruction booklet when they were born.
Mhm.
They know how to do all these simple human interactions, and I'm like, I don't have a clue. I feel like I'm like the guy in, is it Men in Black? Like the bug who's wearing a man suit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Earl, what's his name? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, like, you know, teach me your human ways. That's
yeah.
that's how I feel.
We're always evolving. I mean, even like just meeting you and having a conversation and learning. I think it's something that's it's kind of very special. A quick question from one of our community. Talking about photography. Do you prefer black and white photography over color photography? We'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's from Well, I Am Bo, is part of our community.
Okay, that's a good question, that, because it catches me out, and I've got no real standard answer for it. Depends on my mood. Like today, I think I'm in a black and white mood. So
Okay.
when I go out to the degree show, I feel like I'm in a black and white mood. So I want to shoot that. But the general sort of rule of thumb that I've got is that if color's important, then I shoot color.
Mhm.
If the color isn't important, then black and white is what I tend to gravitate towards. So like, I tried the other week, just as an experiment, just for like 5 minutes. I was photographing the Wrexham Police football club who were playing Andy's Man Club.
Mhm.
I thought, I'll just shoot a couple of these in black and white, and then looked straight back at them and was like, nope. You need the color. You need the colors of the shirts. You need the colors of the surroundings to tell that story. So the black and white can strip out some of the information that you need to read an image. And it's about what you want to communicate. Black and white has this sort of timeless quality to it, where it suddenly feels like it's a proper photograph.
Mhm.
You know, a proper piece of fine art photography if it's in black and white and grainy. And if it's in color, it's not quite as valuable. And that sort of stems back to like the like 1960s and 1970s, like where you've got the beginning of like people like William Eggleston and Stephen Shaw, who were some of the first people to shoot like color art photography.
Mhm.
And they were like sort of ridiculed by some people because like, we don't shoot color, we only shoot black and white. Black and white is the art way. But they sort of changed things. It's really worth looking up their work, especially like American Surfaces is a fantastic book,
Mhm.
which you should look at. Beautiful work, but that would only work in color. It wouldn't work in black and white in the same way. So yeah, that's my long-winded, rambling answer. I don't really know. I make it up as on the spot. If color's important, I shoot color. If I want drama, I do black and white.
I'm an artist. I do what I want. Don't question it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah, who are you to ask me a question?
Sorry, no more questions from the community. Oh man, that's good. I actually, talking about the artwork and talking about oil painting and things like that. I love your photography. The street photography is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But what I was particularly drawn to too, by reading more on your website, is your writing. There's a sense of voice and for lack of humility toward it. And do you write at all? Because it's really compelling. It drew me in even more talking to you.
I I write very, very long emails to a friend of mine. I've on occasion written 7,000, 8,000 word emails over a period of a couple of days. Like, so I do like writing, but it's not I've never felt really confident about it. Like I got 2 A's at GCSE for it. So like I was, in the top level of doing it. I've never felt really confident in my writing. And especially within the art world, you're expected to write and talk a certain way, which is to use art speak and all the sort of stuff. Like if you watch on TV anything about contemporary art, you'll invariably get someone kind of saying, "Oh, they talk a lot of bullshit," and they absolutely fucking do.
Yeah. So does everyone else, though. Everyone else always just
It's what I call art wank. It's like it's just art wank. Like, and so part of my job working at the university was to take art wank and translate it into regular human language so that people can understand it. So I spent a lot of time trying to refine a really simple way of writing, not too flowery and not too clever, and that's honest.
Yeah.
I wrote I wrote an artist statement for a show I was in. I think probably wound up most of the people I was in the show with. It's about this idea that Michel Foucault has got about heterotopias. I can't explain to you what a heterotopia is. I don't think anyone can. I don't even think Foucault could properly explain it to you. It was French postmodern, really rambling language, doesn't translate from French into English very well. And so I wrote my entire statement for the show about how people hide behind Foucault's words and behind sort of postmodern language to hide the banality of their ideas and the fact that they've often got nothing to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very against sort of unnecessary use of complicated language for the sake of showing off.
Mm-hmm.
I swear and I curse and I try and speak as simply as possible. I can't apologize for having a good vocabulary, and no one should. But when you get to that sort of, you familiar with Russell Brand?
Oh, yeah, very much.
Yeah. Too much.
A lot of words.
He's too flowery, too many words. Like, just tone it down a bit, mate. I've not got a dictionary handy when you're talking.
Yes.
I'm an idiot. So yeah, so I do write, but I don't really share my writing. I do enjoy doing it because words are fun.
Well, you're definitely a good writer, and like I said, it's more compelling. And if you haven't looked on your website, OliverStephenPhotography.com, it's really compelling. It's actually great prose in it. So sorry to put you on a spot, but no, it's
all right.
Yeah.
I do think I used to challenge myself. So
yeah. Are you talking about challenges too? And even in your episode, and which, by the way, it was not buried, but they put two in one and to start the season off. And again, this is why we're here. It was just a really amazing story. You have the picture of your nephew. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Challenging yourself, and is that something you still live with every day? Obviously, the picture's with you, but what does that mean to you?
I think I said it on the show. I've only watched the rough cut of me once, and when the actual episode when it came out, I just fast forwarded through me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need to re-experience any of that. But no, I do. I still firmly believe that I can't tell them they can be what they want to be if I'm not willing to push and to challenge myself and do things that make me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the word role model because it sounds so self-aggrandizing.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be a role model to them, I'm their only uncle as well. Like, there's just me and my brother, and my brother's partner doesn't have anyone, mm-hmm. So I'm the only blood relative they've got in that way. So that's a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be the best person that I can be because I just hate the idea of thinking them being upset. I hate seeing them upset. I hate seeing anything go wrong. I know they can never have perfectly happy lives where everything is going to be perfect, but I can mitigate some of the bad stuff if I can stand up and do something good, and hopefully they turn out to be really good people, and not absolute dickheads that I'm ashamed to know. So,
yeah,
they won't. They're not going to be that. I love them. They're brilliant. They're going to be awesome. But wouldn't it be a shame to push myself
mm-hmm.
for all of this just to have them turn out to be ungrateful?
Well, I think your response was when I reached out to you, and you're like, "Well, I'm doing a lot of uncomfortable things. Sure, why not?" It was a great response. It was fantastic.
Yeah, this is my first video interview for anything ever. So this is just great. This is crazy, but I'm still within my life. I'm still within, this is in my kitchen. My housemate's just behind the door there, watching reruns of Dexter, and said she won't come in at any point. But, I'm just in my day-to-day life, doing my day-to-day things. I've got work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be in the library at 10. I'll be there for 5 hours, keeping the doors open and checking books in and out. But then I'm doing stuff like this. So it's really it's surreal. I don't live there's no rock and roll lifestyle. There's no things didn't suddenly dramatically change. Like all of a sudden I've got tons of money and fame and success, and everywhere I go, people are throwing down rose petals and everything. Like, no, I'm still living the same life. I'm talking to someone in LA who's seen me on Disney. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I think, to be honest, and I'm so grateful because it's right. Like, things don't change overnight, things happen. But I listened to Rob and Ryan talk about the show, and Humphrey, about telling stories. I think, your story, and even the story last night, Arthur Massey, that story is
Great.
very compelling. And it's not just football; it's just the glue. Everything else around it, what we're doing here is what I think is the heart of the show. Even though Rob talks about in different ways, but I think this is the heart of the show. There's just tons of stories to be told, and they're telling.
The team gives us a sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a shared thing that I think doesn't require input from any other part of our life, so we can share it quite easily. Unless you're someone who really, really dislikes football,
Mm-hmm.
You can probably get behind your local team.
Sure.
And it is something that it does bring the town together, and it's done more so obviously since Rob and Ryan have come along and done what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
But the love between people for the team, and the love that you'll get from a lot of the fans is genuine and beautiful. And it's a community. I didn't understand it, obviously, because I grew up bullied about the team that I supported, so sort of packed any interest in football in for years. But when I learned to look at the football community here the way that I look at the art community, because I've been in the art world here since 2008, so what, that's 15, 16 years, something. And I started to see the similarities. We all come together under one name, one idea, one thing, and you can put aside personal differences. You can believe in something bigger than yourself, and I think the show does a really good job of communicating that. And the love for Arthur is 100% genuine.
Yeah.
I've seen him on the street, and people love him. I work with his niece, so that's always nice going into work and going, "Oh, I saw your uncle on TV again." But she was worried she was going to be in it in this most recent episode, but she wasn't. I was so looking at my phone ready and everything. I was, I'm going to get a screenshot of Jane, but couldn't find her in the background. I might have to watch it a second time.
Beautiful story. I mean, Rob going to his house, and again, beautiful story. And he always talks about Field of Dreams, and father there too. I thought that was really just beautiful. Another one too. I want, as we're moving through. It's there's more stories to be told. So it's that's another great story. It compiles with what you're.
That's part of what I'm interested in. So my next step after this is one that my close friends know about it. Most people who follow me online or whatever, or just new to who I am, don't know. My career goal is not photographer. I like taking pictures. Photography is a big passion for me, but I'm hoping, if I can sort the funding out and if I get through the interview, to start a PhD this year.
Really?
Yeah. And so my area of interest with that is the idea of community narratives and community stories, and that every space we go into contains a multitude of stories. And so if you come to Wrexham, you go into the stadium, you will have memories of that stadium, even though you've not been there, because you've seen it on TV.
True.
But other people will have memories of having been in it for 20 years or 5 years or 1 year, or their first time. And the moment you meet that person, your stories come together, and then that space contains all of those stories. And that sort of idea got me thinking that every space we go into contains stories, everywhere we go. And how many of them get lost? There's that line from Blade Runner, all these stories will disappear in time like teardrops in rain.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really fortunate that I've been on this show, and that my story has been deemed worthy of enough to make it into the official narrative. But there are tons of people in this town whose stories aren't getting told, and they won't feature on a documentary, and maybe don't feel that their stories have value. And I believe everyone's story has value. Every story can be told. So I'm hoping, a mate of mine, there's a joke, it's an Alan Partridge reference. As soon as she found out I was being on the show, she's like, "You're getting a second series." And I was like, but I don't want a second series. I don't. If there's another series, there is another series afterwards, season 4. They've been commissioned. I don't want to be in it. I mean, maybe I'll get asked. Maybe, I mean, they'll probably capture me on camera because I'm always fucking lurking around like a, you know, like the person that I am. But there's other people. There's other stories to hear.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and it's beautiful, it's so uplifting, and that people are connecting with it. But there are stories in your area right now. There are stories on your street. And if we just spoke to people and just shared, we'd find that, you know, all these people that have suddenly connected with me, that's wonderful. But there are people in your own life. There are people in your own town that you could also connect with if you heard their story, but you don't. So I think the show's been a great example for telling community stories. But I would hope that the inspiration people take from it is that our community also has a story worth telling. And that doesn't mean like you need to go out and get a fucking Disney documentary, but
we could try.
Yeah, give it a shot. You know, there are other networks available. But yeah, those community stories are important, and the fact that people connect with them shows that we can connect with other human beings. And like, I probably don't believe the same things that you do entirely. Like, we've probably got some crossover. We've probably got some things we disagree on, but we can connect over this.
Sure,
that's a beautiful starting point for the world, and that's just football.
I totally agree. The missus and I, and we travel the world together. You know, we're not world travelers, but when we do, you know, I could sit down next to somebody, usually one space, as you mentioned, one space away. Like, you say, who do you support? You know, and you say, and it just goes off from there. I think there's something beautiful to that. And you know, the stories that are being told, and you mentioned like being an outsider and looking out and not going in the stadium, which Matt Owl, I don't know if he reached out to you. He's like, he wants to get you in the stadium. I'm sure a lot of people do too. But you know, taking the pictures, one of your pictures I saw was is kids outside looking through the window watching the game. I was like, those are beautiful. And you talked about the stickers, like those stories, unbelievable. Great narrative there, what you were saying, especially in the photos.
Yeah, all these moments are always happening. They're always there. It's just, I get asked all the time, how did you notice that? And my usual response, you know, my dad makes the same response as well. We're both quite flippant in our humor, which is, well, why didn't you notice it?
It's right there. Yeah.
It's there. It's always happening. There's people climbing on the fence. Like, they've, you know, put barriers up now to stop people from watching, like by climbing on top of the fences and stuff. But there would be people on match days in the beginning, like literally climbing over the, like where the new cop is, like trying to get on the fence to watch stuff.
Yeah.
And like all I do is point my camera at it. Like, yeah, like I'm just lucky enough to have paid attention and lucky enough to have pressed the shutter at the right moment. Like, but those moments are there for everyone to spot. The world is weird and interesting and exciting if you start to look at it.
True.
Most people don't look. We just walk through life with our head down. Like, I realized the other week, so where I live, we're just off a main road, and I was walking back from the shop one night, and I looked up and suddenly realized I can see hills in the distance, like beautiful hills and a sunset happening behind it. And I've walked down this road for 16 years and I'd never noticed that. And like, there are moments of beauty everywhere, moments of wonder, these exciting, beautiful, odd moments. And all you got to do is look. And I've just been lucky enough that I've spotted enough and had a camera on me. And then luck, yeah, everything's luck. Like, hard work helps, but luck is such a huge factor.
I do love some of your photography, and I would love to get some. And I had to, so as going through, I had to look this up. I never heard of a zine. Is that my saying right?
Yeah, okay. Zine. Yeah.
On your website it says zine. I had to look it up. It says zine, short for magazine or fanzine, a small circulation, self-published. And one that struck me, talking about floodlights. There's a volume 1, 2, and 3 coming out. Floodlights sold out. Tell us about that. I think they're beautiful.
That'll be that.
Yeah. And on cue, right there on that bombshell. Yeah.
This is the table where I do my post. So
okay. Yeah.
So this is, I can give you a little flick. I'm trying to give you a flick, prove it on this. I don't know. So little introductory text. Wait, that's better. And so they're just photos of the floodlights that started in 2015. And this is like the beginning of my obsession with the club and everything. And so these are available for £5. You can get them online, get them while they're hot.
I want all 3 when they come out, so I will definitely be reaching out.
So Volume 1's out now. Volume 2 I'm still working on because
Okay.
there's a lot of photographs to go through. And then Volume 3, I've got the photos for it, but I need to finish 2 first before I start thinking about 3.
Yeah.
And it's just basically the old lights, the transition period in Volume 2, and then the new lights in Volume 3.
Yeah.
Because I think they're worth documenting. I think they're interesting.
They're beautiful. It's weird, like you just said, if you just look at it, it is, and from your perspective, not being in the stadium, looking out there, it's really kind of a cool thing.
But they're things you like. If you live in Wrexham, you see them on the skyline all the time.
Yeah.
When you're coming back in from was it Buchwin, I think, you can see the stadium lights in the distance.
Yeah.
As you come over the hill, like that's Wrexham. I know I'm home. Mm-hmm. When you get the train in, just as the train starts pulling into the station, you see the stadium lights. When I leave my front door and I look to the left, I can see the stadium lights, which makes watching matches on TV really weird because it's normally on a 2-minute delay, so I hear the goals before they happen on the TV, and I know who scored them because you know who they're chanting for.
Yeah, it was close, real close.
Very, very. I'm within 200 meters of the stadium.
Oh my, wow!
So it's loud here on match day.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I love it. But yeah, zines are something I've made ever since I was 15, 16 years old, something like that.
Yeah,
you just sort of make comic books yourself and then staple them together and give them to friends, and then you start realizing, oh, this is a thing that people do.
Yeah, I did a thing.
Yeah, so I've lost track over the years of how many I've made and what I've done. But I also run with my mate Heather something called Wrexham Zine Library, which we have in the art school that I went to. So it's in a shed in the library room there, and it's a collection of zines that we've put together over years, and we're getting more and more in. We've got a section specifically dedicated to Wrexham zines.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got ones made by Wrexham artists, and we've also got ones about the club. So there's Fearless and Devotion, which is also a podcast. They've got one. So we've got copies of we're missing issue 1. We've got everything else. And there's a load of ones from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that we've got. So we're trying to build as big a collection of Wrexham-based zines as we can, and art-based ones, because they're a really great way of getting your work out and sharing your story. So you don't have to, have you got access to a photocopier or a printer? If yes, you can make a zine, and all you got to do is just hand them to people, sell them, get them out. It's self-publishing at its most simple.
That's one thing I did learn today. I was like, and of course, dumb American, Zines on your website.
Yeah, people call them Zines all the time, no, zines.
Yeah, I made sure I got it right because I screw up everything else all the time. I'm not, I wanted to get there. They're beautiful, and I want to pick up. I definitely want to pick up at least the first copy of Floodlights.
So I'll sort you out. Don't worry.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And then I saw as we move on here, talking about, I know you got to go in a little bit, talking about one of your favorite movies, Aliens. I was going to throw a quote at you. I want to see if you know who said it.
Oh, go. All right. Okay.
All right. Cheating. Cheating. Okay. I'm the ultimate badass. State of the badass art. You do not want to fuck with me.
That's Bill Paxton as Hudson. That's in the dropship when they're in the APC.
Yeah.
That's a bit. There was also a cut from the original version.
Really?
And the extended version where he says that we've got sharp, pointy sticks or something is the end of a line.
Yeah.
That's in the director's cut.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm slightly obsessed.
You're like, I can watch it without. Let's see if he's got it. No, was that one, or was we're on an express elevator to hell, going down.
Going down. It's Hudson again, isn't it?
Yeah, there was between those two. I was like, it might be too obvious. Yeah, and if I went with Ripley, it was just did IQs just drop sharply, or was that what I was?
Yeah. Such a good film, though.
It's a good film. It really is. And she's fantastic at it. The whole Bill Paxton could do could have done anything. I'm watching that. I love it. I know you're pressed for time. You got things to do. I wanted to ask, will you go to a game? I know you said you would. In time. What drawing to Wrexham? You do watch the games. Is it? Yeah, you said crowds. A little hard for you to go into. You don't like crowds, but is it something that is curious to you, that you just something you overcome like this and keep going?
This is one of those difficult moments where we've got 3 weeks left of the season of the show, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
3. Yeah, 3. I would say keep watching.
Okay. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Yeah, I may end up at a game at some point.
Okay.
Yeah. Just my Disney overlords will probably kill me now, won't they?
Well, I'm glad, like I said, overcoming fears, and like you mentioned, not feeling like you're part of something. It's good that you are a part of something. It must feel, you're definitely part of the community. You can definitely tell.
There's a sense you get when you're around the other fans that you don't get anywhere else in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and there is an amazing sense of community. So I can't talk about Wrexham matches, but I did go to Wales versus Croatia, the women's match that was at the racecourse a little while back, their qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
And standing in the stands in the racecourse with all the Welsh fans, all of us wearing Welsh tops,
Mm-hmm.
with the dragon on, singing the national anthem at the top of my lungs. It's nothing like it. Like, and I spent weeks before that match making sure I knew the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you haven't heard it before, I would go look up the Welsh national anthem because it's beautiful.
I would say, do you want to sing it? But
Absolutely not. I don't want to sing it. I don't want to offend my ancestors who could sing. Proper, there's a sort of Welsh way of singing, which is kind of roar, like proper, hymn, church kind of voice. I don't have it. I have a weak, pathetic singing voice. Which is why
that wasn't that bad, by the way. That wasn't that bad. I'm just saying, even for just
that was an impression of my Uncle Trev. Who had a really good singing voice, but I made sure I learned the lyrics to it because it was important for me to know how to say them. I'm trying to learn Welsh at the moment. Like, I'm half Welsh, but my family never spoke Welsh to me when I grew up, so I barely speak English, and it's my first
I'm still trying to speak English myself, so I get it.
Yeah, English is tough.
It's
worse, but it's a beautiful language. And if you look up what the meaning of the national anthem is, I think it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Not about swearing loyalty to, an unelected monarch or a power or anything, or getting revenge against someone, or trampling people down. It's about being a land of poets.
Wow.
And being a land of our ancestors and the strength that we feel as being a people together. So singing that with all the other Welsh fans was a beautiful moment. And you get that in a football stadium. You get that at matches. You're all singing the same thing together. You're all together as one. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. It's scary. I know a lot of people who go to the matches who also suffer with social anxiety, but say that somehow it disappears while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found that with a couple of matches that I've seen with Wrexham women playing, and go to see Wrexham Police FC playing stuff. The sense of community is what makes it worth it and what gets you through it. So I'd recommend anyone go. I think it's beautiful and wonderful. And if I can afford tickets next season, I'll certainly be going. I've had a few people offer to buy me tickets.
Mm-hmm.
People say, like, you can use my season ticket if you want for a match, or we'll take you along. And the first one, I thought, that's a really nice offer. That's wonderful. I'll take them up on that.
Yeah.
And I've got like 5 or 6 more offers. And then I thought, no, I'm not. I'm going to take anybody up on it. I think I'm going to turn them all down because it feels wrong for me to go from not going to matches to suddenly having other people pay for me to go. Like, no, I can pay for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I should do that. It's nice that people want to take me.
Yeah.
Want to help me out like that, and it's a beautiful act of kindness. But I would feel bad if I never paid for seeing a single match. So yeah, I think people shouldn't offer me free tickets. I should have to pay like everybody else does. I'm nothing special. I'm just a local bell end with a camera who happened to get lucky. Like,
You talked about luck, but you prepared for it. You got to where it is, and you put yourself out there. And like I said, challenging yourself, I think it's very important. Something like that. Maybe it's a pay forward thing or something like that. I think that's special. I know I can't wait to get there. Rob and Ryan coming in, and Rob and Ryan buying the club. Talked about the community being like a sleeping giant, and you talk about things are growing. I mean, is that how you feel? What's happening? The sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean. I have sort of semi-regular arguments at work now with one of the caretakers, who he's like, "No, we're going up again next season, and we're going to win we're going to win the league." I'm like, "No, I don't think we are.
I think we're going up.
I think we're going to finish mid to top table, but I don't think we're going up again. I think we're going to be in the next league for a year or two."
Okay.
I think there's a reality waiting to hit us.
Don't tell Rob that. I'm on Rob. He's like, we're going up. I'm on the team Rob.
I am frustratingly optimistic, and I believe that like nothing's impossible and we can do anything. But I just feel like it's Wrexham, innit? Like if we're ever gonna not go up, it's gonna be next year. Because we've had sad season, good season, good season.
Yeah,
I feel like would use sad season so that good season after that is more powerful.
We had Tommy on, and he said, "Don't Rex it up." Tommy.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't Rex it up." But
I saw him say that. I was like, "That's a very good way of putting it."
He's like,
so yeah, I would like us to go up. I believe we're capable of going up.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I don't know. But don't trust me. I don't play football. I've never been on the pitch kicking a ball. I've never managed a team. What the fuck do I know?
We just got to fake it. Why? Who knows? Whatever.
Ask the experts. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I just think that I don't think it's going to be because of us not being good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think we put people's backs up. And I think we infuriate other teams. And I think the idea that we've already gone up twice in a row, I think there are going to be teams in the next league who are not going to want us to go up again. And I think we're going to see more teams bringing their absolute A game against us.
Yeah.
Each time we go out. I don't think we're going to have any pushover matches. It's like, we'll probably walk that one. It's guaranteed 3 points with this one.
Every game's going to be a battle. Absolutely.
Yeah. Every game is going to be the deciding game, I think, and that's why I'm like, I'm not sure that we'll go up, because I think we've got basically most of the league looking at us and going, no, we don't want you to go up, and we're going to do everything we can to try and stop. And good, they push us, they let us improve.
Yeah.
So I hope we go up. I hope we go up.
But hope we go up, but heart and mind are two different things.
I think we've got a very big fight ahead of us.
Yeah.
And I think that as long as we don't underestimate it, we'll smash it and we'll go up. But if we get overconfident, that's the bit I'm worried about. That's really what's shaping my opinion on it. I worry that we'll get too confident and too lazy, and just think, we'll walk it. And so I think we had a bit of that at the beginning of this season, where we just had that really shit streak.
Yeah.
And didn't help that obviously that Mullin was off with an injury, but I don't want to see that again.
No, I think we need to have a good summer signings, and then Parkinson and Parkin need to go and just head down and go. You're right, we go again, and go right at it. But it's gonna be exciting though.
Victory should never be assumed.
True.
That's how I always function. I assume it's possible, but I never assume it's done until it's done. So even when we when we went up this year, people were messaging me days before and going, "Yeah, we're going up, we're fine." I'm like, "No, until we're going up, we're not going up."
Yeah,
don't not go up. Yeah. So I was out photographing the. So my brother works for the National Centre for Circus Arts. So I photographed in a circus event, which is really fun thing to do. Circus arts are amazing. But I had to take 20 minutes off in the afternoon, just at the end of the matches. And I was just pacing back and forth in the courtyard, just constantly refreshing the scores. and thinking like, I know I'm supposed to be in there taking pictures, but I have to, and I couldn't rest until I absolutely knew for certain that everybody we needed to lose had lost.
Yeah.
We definitely won, and then we were definitely going up. And then I was like trying to celebrate, but they're all circus performers, and none of them really were. So it was just me on my own going, yes, we won.
Like,
no, Wrexham went up. Oh, good.
Good, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
That
my brother was like, yeah, but you still need to take photos. Like, oh no, I do. Just give me a minute to celebrate, please.
Yeah. You know how long it's been? I got to get here. I get it. It was beautiful. That was one of the best. Fozzie saving the penalty was one of the best things I've ever seen. And then when they went up this not officially, the game they went up and everyone's coming on the pitch, I was like, oh my god, like clamoring to go. It was beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was. I was annoyed I wasn't in Wrexham for that, but I still, I said I got to have a good day. I got to watch my brother work for the first time ever and see how amazing he is at his job. So I can't. I got to see my nephew and niece, so I can't complain about that. But like some of those matches, the Boreham Wood one last season was, we watched that together as a group in a local arts centre. So we had like a projector, put the match on, watched it, and just as like the final whistle went, we ran outside and opened the door, and we could hear the cheering from across town. And that's always going to be one of my most treasured memories and like best days of my life. And especially watching my mate Gaz like just constantly like sitting down trying to watch it and go, no, too tense, and then getting up and then walking out and then coming back and then like, no, can't do it. Yeah. I sat down for a grand total of, I think it was 5 minutes. Sat down, had a cup of tea, and thought, yeah, I'm going to enjoy the football, and then like started leaning forward.
Yeah.
And forward. I mean, that was it. And for the next 90 minutes, I was just pacing backwards and forwards in the room. I was jumping up and down. I was shouting. I probably look like a lunatic, to be honest.
no one was taking photos, I'm sure. It's all good. But that's what it does to you. Right? You had the camera. Right? You had the glass between it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But isn't it amazing? I like coming from, telling your story, kind of going full circle, not feeling a part of something, never always feel like an outsider, to feel like you're part of a community. I think that's really just special.
Like I feel like I'm home. Like, so the way I always explain it is like, I'm not born here and I'm not from here, but I'm of here.
Yeah.
This town shaped me. The friends I've made here often feel like family. It's, I'm once I get off this, I'm looking forward to going down to the degree show opening, because I need to go and find my old tutor who's going to be there, and I need to tell him that, like, when you're watching that episode, I want you to know from me directly as a person, when I'm talking about university and fine art saved my life, I mean you. Specifically him, specifically John McLennan. So there we go, I'm name checking him.
There you go.
But specifically him, like, I wouldn't be here, without that. It's, it's just, but that's what community can give you. That's what connection can give you, and it's amazing. Like, I never thought I'd ever have that, and here I am. And I'm lucky enough to live in a great town. And the moment I first properly grasped it was, I'm going to say last year, because I think it was last year, but it might have been the end of the year before. I'm not entirely certain. I'm really bad with dates and times. So there was a theatre performance called A Proper Ordinary Miracle, which was done on the streets of Wrexham. So we had local performers and artists and professional theatre people come in, and they ran a play for, I think it was 9 times they did it, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the daytime, and the play would walk the streets of Wrexham, and so people could watch it.
Oh, wow.
Just in passing, and it was wonderful. At the end of each telling of that story, we'd actually end up in the was it the Ryan Rodney Reynolds Memorial Park?
The park, yeah. They're building the new,
so
yeah.
That park had a stage in it while we were there, and we'd have live music playing at the end of every one, and like people would dance around and celebrate, and there'd be fire and like all sorts of stuff, and there were jugglers and everything. It was a great way of ending up this theatre performance. And so I'm going to name check somebody else. I like name checking people because I like referencing people who I also think do really valuable stuff. So Natasha Borton, who is a very good friend of mine, wrote a song called "You Only Get One Hometown," and this one is ours. And I first heard her play it at that event. And we just had like someone had been on stage before singing Umar Ohid, which is that Daviduan song, and we were all singing along with that. But she sang this song, and I'd never heard it before. I'd never heard her perform it, heard the lyrics, and they're all references. And you can find it. I think it's on like Bandcamp or something, or Spotify or somewhere. Like go search her, find that song. I think it's beautiful. And hearing that, and hearing her just say that, you know, you only get one hometown, and this one is ours. I just burst into tears. Like, thankfully, like I'm not embarrassed about crying or anything like that, but I am when I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing there with a camera. I'm supposed to be documenting everything that's going on. I've just taken a second to listen to the lyrics and was just like, "Fuck, that song's for me. That song's for everybody else here. And this is my hometown. This is where I belong. This is where I feel like not where I just live, but where I'm alive."
Yeah.
And yeah, I started crying and it was just like trying to look through the camera. I can't see a fucking thing. It's dark. I've got tears in my eyes. But it was at that moment where I knew, like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I feel connected. I love this town. I love these people. I love the team. I've loved it ever since I got here. But that was the real moment where I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be. So it's wonderful.
It's beautiful, and like your story is beautiful. And you touched a lot of people, and I think it's exactly what people need sometimes to connect. And as we talked about, and I'm happy, you know, we got to sit down, and like I said, I know you're pressed for time, and you know, it's really, really special. So thank you. And I always leave it on, you know, what's next. Then you talk about doing your PhD, and you're going to go off tonight to go meet John. But what is next for you?
Next for me is. Next week is the Wild Goch Festival, which is a football fans festival that happens once a year. I had my photography about the club was in it last year in a show, and this year they've asked me to be the official photographer for the event. So I'm going to be at, I think, most of the talks that are happening, documenting what's going on and photographing people and doing what I do. And then after that, I'm off to Portmeirion for a week with my family for a big first family holiday in years, maybe even decades. And that's my favorite place in the world, which is a little town called Portmeirion. If you've never heard of it, I recommend looking it up. And if you get over to Wales, I recommend a day trip. Okay. And if you want to see how weird it is, they filmed a TV show called The Prisoner there in the 60s. And it's proper crazy, very weird show. And I realized that going there most years when I was a kid and watching that show growing up, there's a lot about me that makes sense.
You bring in your camera though, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. I don't normally shoot film, but I've got rolls of film in my fridge that I've been saving.
Fantastic.
Because the last time I was there on holiday, I only had a 35mm camera. So I want to go back and shoot the way that I was then, just shoot a load of film and load of digital and just enjoy being in. It's just a beautiful little village. Like, it's wonderful. Words don't do it justice. You have to look at it and then you'll be like, oh, I get it.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I hope you guys have a great time, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the photos from there too. And then someday I'd love to come over and meet you in person, and you know, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Well, if you make it over, just give us a shout. Okay. I am nearly always here.
Okay.
And you can definitely find me outside a match if we're playing a home game. So, although maybe you'll start finding me inside matches at home games.
Never know. I hope so. I hope so. And keep telling great stories. And I'm so blessed that you came on. And thanks for giving your time. I know you got to jump, but you know, thank you. I'm really grateful.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will catch up soon, Mr. Oliver Stephen.
Awesome.